apparently kind of specialize in these cases where a company sells and the investor doesn't think the judgment of the board was sufficiently sound. But like I said, I have to go back to my notes 2008 when I was looking very deeply at every move Novell was making, and I was looking very, very closely since around 2006, 2007. They have lots of people who are also like board members or associated with Microsoft right in Novell's board. Novell's board is the one usually making these decisions and who to sell to. So as far as I can tell, they would be pretty happy to basically say, well, we like Microsoft and we also like Novell, and we can just give them the patents and we can kind of sell it to a company which doesn't care so much about free software. And this is the concern I had. But they had at one stage, I suppose most people might remember, they were going to be sold to VMware, but VMware is also occupied by lots of Microsoft executives since 2008. What happened in 2008, the founder, Diane Green, and I think it's her husband, I think there is a story of how the company came to be in the 90s. They were the symbol of the company, but they were owned mostly or fully by EMC. And EMC has this CEO called Tucci or Tucci, I'm not sure how he would pronounce it. I think it looks like an Italian name. And he's a friend of Ballmer, as far as I can tell. I can produce pictures and things. And he basically fired the founders or demoted the founder of VMware. And he basically got rid of her. And then her husband, I think, left, and quite a few of the top people left with these people who weren't too happy with what EMC did to the company. And what happened very soon afterwards is the former executive of Microsoft, which was put through AMC just months beforehand, was made the CEO of VMware. And once he did that, he brought all of his former friends from Microsoft to be the COO and all kinds of top positions in the company. So what you then ended up with VMware being a kind of reunion of some of the former executives of Microsoft. And this was concerning to me because VMware was the one interested in Microsoft's SUSE department. So I just thought this is a way for Microsoft to take control of the distribution. What actually happened at the end is the separation between patents and everything else, instead of the separation between SUSE and everything else.
One of the things, every time you hear an example of that, it just brings to mind, remember Ballmer years ago had said Linux is a cancer. It affects all intellectual property and consumes it, and I don't remember the exact wording, but that quote, and all I could think of is he's comparing it to a cancer cell, to the idea that how cancer spreads. Now, think about what Microsoft are doing. If you think of these companies as different cells and individuals within these companies as cells, Microsoft send out these people, these individuals to go and take over boardrooms to basically turn those boardrooms into little away offices of Microsoft. So isn't that a much better description of what a cancer cell actually does? It goes and creates itself somewhere else under the disguise of being a different thing. That's surely...
And I'm pretty sure, because in the case of cancer, it just expands and it doesn't have the control to start expanding. And in this case, you're talking more about an organism trying to spread itself or to make more offspring. And that's what's called, I usually refer to it as entryism, but it's more of a political term where you try to change the agenda of your competitor or one of the other parties to kind of turn them into your side. And the way to do this is put some people in there and try to stir things up and then invite in some former members and changing the nature.
Yeah, it just seems to be a more appropriate definition of cancer, as in a business type of thing, than what he described it as, But his words.
I prefer the more traditional Microsoft stereotype, which I think is far more apt and far more accurate, which is the comparison to the Borg from the Star Trek. It's resistance is futile, you will be assimilated. I think that's far more apt with Microsoft tactics than anything else. If I could just very briefly grab a few seconds of your time, I found the article I was looking for. for the people that have been listening to the show, or those that haven't, we talked about the Kinect and the open source drivers that were. There was a bounty put out for somebody to write open source drivers for the new Kinect device that Microsoft had released. Microsoft got a little bit angry, one could say, and they made this statement at the time to CNET about the whole open source driver issue. They said this. With Kinect, Microsoft built in numerous hardware and software safeguards designed to reduce the chances of product tampering. And then they went on to say, Microsoft will continue to make advances in these types of safeguards and work closely with law enforcement and product safety groups to keep Kinect tamper resistant. Now, at the time, I think it was me and Roy, we were considering what sort of law enforcement agency would be interested in somebody writing open source drivers for a contraption that Microsoft had released. I digress, because what they're now saying, if you just bear with me, they've now made this new release, which puts obviously their opinion forward that they wanted it to be open all the time. And just bear with me a second while I scan down to the bottom of this page. I should have had this Connect results. Excited. You're going to have to bear with me, gentlemen, because I've now lost what I was reading. But I had the quote. It's actually on a site called it's actually on Mashable. And it was, I'll read you the beginning bit. It just says, initially Microsoft was not pleased with the popularity of Kinect hacking with Kinect, and I've read out that bit. However, Microsoft appears to have changed its tune. On November the 19th, broadcast National Public Radio's Science Daily program, Director of Incubation for Xbox, Alex Kipman, said that Kinect was left open by design. So there you have Microsoft saying one thing and then completely changing its mind the next. And I think we can glean from that something that we've been saying, or certainly I've been saying for a long time, is that what Microsoft says and what reality is are usually two completely different things. So yes,
I tried to stifle a laugh there, just at one part. I don't know if I succeeded, but anyway, what I was laughing at was the thought that just the statement, Microsoft were surprised at the level of success of Kinect. It's just something in that statement, the way you'd read it out. And all I could think of was Microsoft are surprised that people actually want to use it and want to buy it. And they were totally caught by surprise by that. After the kin,
Well, I mean, the thing is, like I mentioned to Roy, I can't remember if you had joined us yet, Gordon, but as I was saying to Roy, I don't see how they can hail the Kinect as any sort of success. They've already got an established user base, and this merely is a fancy controller at the end of the day. And, if people have got value from the Xbox 360, of course they're going to buy a peripheral which is offering further value to that product. That's the way that's the way these things work. And to hail it as some sort of amazing success, it's not, because, like I say, it's sort of selling to the it's preaching to the choir, as it were. So this, and I said on my blog when the Kinect was first announced, that this was, in my opinion, a way to extend the life of the 360 in order to try and drag a bit of profit out of it after the Red Rings of Death fiasco that would have eaten into Microsoft profits, I assume. And producing a peripheral like this will drag out the Xbox 360 for another couple of years, so that they can hopefully get a return from it. That was my view. But sorry, I digress. And Gordon, sorry.
I was going to say the life cycle of a games console is supposed to be 5 years. So I don't know when the 360 came out. So it might be that they should be, according to that sort of cycle, they probably should be starting thinking about the new version of the whatever they're going to replace it with. But of course, that involves a lot of research and development. When the recession is tight, and when the tide's stacked against them in so many different areas, and they're having to have all these layoffs, can they afford to go and develop yet another new games console, or do they just try to push the 360 as much as they can while they can?
Just out of interest, just a fact here, I believe that the 360 was launched in 2006, which sounds about right according to this just quick search I've done, because I remember I bought one when we changed over our mortgage, which was approximately sort of 5 years ago. So that sounds about right. So 2006. I don't know how long that compares to other games consoles, but yes, it's certainly the Kinect, in my view, was to drag out the life of it. And at the end of the day, people seem to forget that Microsoft did back the HD DVD format instead of going Blu-ray, which was a spectacular failure. I don't think anybody could dispute that. And when you look at the market, I mean, maybe PlayStation and Sony have an excuse to drag theirs out a bit longer because it's got a